community.
Sorry, I forgot
Uh,
to push the button.
it's okay. It's great. So I'm thinking of them as a community at distance and trying to relate and to work as a collective in future collaborations. Yeah.
Very nice.
Very nice.
If you haven't seen Maya's work, you should look her up. She's got these amazing trees, and it just is some amazing work.
It is
very-
amazing.
It changed a lot with time.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
as do we all.
I know. Thank you.
And we have been traveling all over. I was just telling that we drove up to Yash, and what Yash is, what, 6 hours?
Yeah.
And with the road work, it was 12 hours on the road. So we were just like, oh, why didn't we not take the train? We didn't take the train because we said, oh no, it'll be longer. If we drive, it'll be shorter. So we saw the train pass us.
I thought, I mean, they made the highway now, didn't they?
Yes, well, we took the highway up and we said, oh, when we came back, we said, oh, we're going to come back through the mountains. It'll be more beautiful.
Oh,
And it was, but
well, yes.
every place had construction, getting ready for winter, I suppose.
Yes.
Oh, well, we got to see a lot of leaves. Great, let's look at our show today, our presentation. I'm going to go ahead and do the sharing of the screen. If I can figure out which one of these buttons works. Because today we wanted to talk about talking about our art. Let me do the presentation. So last week we talked about marketing terms and how there are lots of different terms that have different meanings, but they all work together, whether that's PR and marketing and advertising and what else did we say? Communications, and they're all similar, but they all work together. And that art does not sell itself. We must have a plan, and that's what we're kind of working on together, is creating this PR plan. And we talked about how key messages are central for marketing and for PR. And we talked a little bit about what our key messages are and how we need to find the pain points of our customers. What is it that they need that our art supplies? And so we asked that people look at the following questions. What do you want people to remember about your art? What is your art style? What makes you unique? What is your story as an artist? And what is your cultural heritage? And I threw in the one about the cultural heritage when I was doing some reading, because I feel like I don't have that. I am a mixture of all kinds of races, and we live in the States where there is no real identity necessarily, unless you're part of a smaller group. And yet those things can be so important when you're trying to present yourself and your story. And you shouldn't shy away from those things in your own story. Anybody have any comments about the homework? I found it difficult, particularly trying to describe how my art is unique. And that is something I need to be working on, is why is that difficult for me?
In terms of the last question, what is your cultural heritage? I'm kind of just a combination person, American guy, but I do feel strongly that I am much more of a blue collar person than, like a corporate person.
Sure.
And that does influence the way I paint. And I grew up in the metropolitan city, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I've lived most of my life in rural. So I like drawing buildings or painting buildings and landscapes. But at the same time, I use alcohol ink and I do an awful lot of abstracts.
Mhm.
I don't know, John, one of the things that I say with my abstracts or working with the ink is that it allows me to make a mess and fix it.
Mhm.
And gosh, that phrase resonates with a whole lot of people when I talk to about my art. So it's, that they, I build on that a lot of times, I just start with a color and then I add another color and I add this and that and I build a painting. Sometimes it looks like something, sometimes it doesn't. When it looks like, it's like playing chess with the inks. And when I put the ink down, then it does what it wants to do, and then I have to respond and so on. And
Sure.
if it ends up looking like something, I guess I say I win. And if it looks like nothing, then I say the ink wins.
There you go.
So
But it's really the process is the story there, right?
yes.
I have a quick question, Dale. Do you always want it to look like something?
Oh, absolutely not. And if it looks too much like something, most of the time, I will, with alcohol ink, you can just add drops of alcohol and change the whole thing. And yes, you can see some of I have an online store where I post all my originals.
Okay,
And it's Dale-O'Connell.
we write that down.
Dale-O'Connell.pixels.com. So you can see the variety of work that I do. So I started late I was 77 before I even started doing any art. And so I just like to play sometimes, and I use a lot of times I just use as a substrate the backside of photo paper. And so I'll just put some colors down and then what it looks like, and then try and make it look into something. So I get kind of monsterish kind of things and silly kinds of things, but also some really beautiful things. There's a whole mix of that
Sure.
on that page.
Well, that's great. When I show people my non-objective work, I call it music without words,
Yeah.
which sometimes they can relate to, sometimes not.
Well, I have an Irish background, so I would call it Blarney without words.
Oh,
Because some of it
I
is
had
really
this,
silly.
I had this real connection to Native American. My great-grandfather was full-blooded Cherokee. And so throughout all of our lives, I always had this kind of connection to kind of Native American tradition and somehow to define me. And my niece went and did the test where they test your lineage. Not a drop of Indian blood in us.
oh my goodness.
All those generations of us who have been proud Native Americans, not a drop of Native blood in us.
So I have a question. The cultural heritage, just do you, John, you said you were struggling with it. I kind of don't even consider it with my work. Maya, in Romania, is cultural heritage in your work important at all?
she stepped away. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually have to make the fire.
No
Here
problem.
we have a stove and it was smelling, so I jumped to see if everything is okay. Because I'm in this rural setting, you know, making the
Right.
fire with woods. Please,
Right.
could you repeat?
Yes. We were just talking about cultural heritage, and for me, I really don't take that into consideration in my work.
Right.
Do you in Romania, do artists take that into consideration at all in their work?
Um, well, I think I tend to be very conceptual in everything I do, even if I'm just making straight lines, I tend to overly conceptualize them. So, um, I I don't perceive myself as only being Romanian. I'm not focused on my nationality, but considering the whole world, and like when I was in America, I would certainly see myself as an Eastern European,
Right.
Yes.
like as opposed to being a US based on. So if we think of it like that, the fact that I had access to museums in Greece, for example, and could see Greek culture from an early age,
Right.
and our very old historical data from the Dutch, and very old ceramics are certainly an inspiration for me. Even this year, I was in a ceramics residency in the mountains, and we were supposed to use to base our project on old ceramics from that region.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in my project now that I am drawing trees, I actually it's not the trees that interest me. It's those trees in a way. It's the fact that
Uh-huh.
I am there because I found that I am very related to us to the land, to the Romanian land in a way that I could not explain. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I am in other parts of the world, it just doesn't feel home. I don't feel I have my feet on the ground. And so this is this cultural heritage. I'm
Absolutely.
so my project is based on a specific forest. So it's natural heritage, definitely. It's a forest where you can actually buy, there are specific beech trees that you
Mm-hmm.
can just symbolically buy for 7 years. So there are people in the whole world, they buy them, but the fact of buying is just actually means like caring for them.
Right.
So
Mhm.
you take care of them for a couple of years, um, and then they go back um to just being numbers. Like they have hashtags. You walk in the woods and you can read about them.
Right.
And also, it's a place where during communist times they had the resistance in the mountains. And so I am very much related to my cultural heritage in lately, yes.
You know, and that's all part of your story, and that comes out in your art.
Correct.
Yes.
Probably you and Deborah are probably the most senior artists as far as many years doing art in this conversation right now. But you know, to be able to have that voice that is different and to recognize that about yourself and explore that, I think is very, very rich. That's difficult for me because I'm a city boy, and but maybe the city is my thing. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's, you know, I need to find those stories within my own life.
Well, I am a city person. I was born in the city, and it took
Mhm.
me a lot of time to understand that I don't belong there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
also to kind of like find root.
Did we lose her or just?
But always finding answers inside the ethics, just
Mhm,
in ethics and not in the art sector. Like
sure.
just making art for art's sake was never, I never felt it's sufficient. So I always wanted to have like something aside so that I can have like an educational story to tell, or to feel I'm, adding something to this world in a way. So yes, that's
Marvelous.
how I found
And
my
I,
project.
I don't want to speak for Bogdan, but I know that we've lived in lots of places. And there are times that Bogdan has told me that he has felt like he doesn't know where he is, you know. How do you bring that through? And lately, I think he has been.
Oh, I think everything I do has something from my culture. I mean, I'm always inspired by this place. Every time I go back, I start something new that is all about Romania. No matter if it's modern and it's abstract, but it has some elements that come from the folkloric world, I guess. It could be religious, hidden there. There's all kinds of motifs. I can't get rid of them. They are, with me all the time.
And you
Uh,
shouldn't.
Hmm?
And you
Say that
shouldn't
again?
get rid of them.
No, but I mean, everything I do, it's inspired from this place.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting because, as we are all saying, when I'm in the US, I don't think about heritage or culture or anything like that because I grew up here. But I went to school in England and I was known as the colonist. There was nobody else in the school that was from the US. So then I really started to think about what it was like to be an American and being an American. So I do think that it's almost like when you live in a city and there's so many beautiful things to see, but you never go to see them. But if you were a tourist, you would.
Right, right.
So I live in I live in a town of 250 people,
Wow.
and we don't have any of our roads that are asphalt. They're all still gravel roads.
Wow.
An old mining town, and it's very rural. And we've been here in January. It will be 20 years,
Wow.
and I'm hoping that after January passes, people will begin to see us as locals.
Maybe.
Because having been raised in the city or from a different state, something about us lets everybody know that we're not one of them.
Mhm.
Okay.
In the conversation that Linda and I, my wife and I, have, that is a humorous thing, is that if you live in the rural areas, and I don't know if that works for you, Maya, because I don't think in your culture things change much as quick. The geography changes as much as here, but if you're giving someone directions in a rural area, you start by saying, "Well, you go down here to where the barn used to be,"
Yes.
and then you turn.
Right.
And you have to have lived there long enough to know where that barn used to be.
Me, I think I felt a bit alienish wherever I was in the US. I was the alien citizen. Where I am in my rural area, I'm still, it's been 6 years that I live here and nobody ever talks to me. So
Maybe 20
I
years.
found my spot with the trees. That's where I connected to the trees and not to the people, because I'm always the alien. So
Where do you
Yes,
live?
and I will always be alien too, in this area.
yes.
Where do you live,
Well,
Maya? Which part of the country?
I live near Mizil towards Buzău.
Uh-huh.
It's a plain countryside, and the place I'm talking about is Nucșoara.
Mhm.
It's under Moldoveanu, the highest peak in Romania.
Marvelous.
Clara is a lake, right?
Yes, it's a lovely lake.
We just went through Brazil last week.
Oh, but I was in Portugal anyway, so
Yes. How was that?
that was something. It was I am part of a big green residency. It's a 3 years residency. It's a European Creative Europe project. So there are many countries involved, and a lot of artists and coordinators, and I have been doing some work in the Land of Hatzeg International UNESCO Geopark.
Hmm.
And this was just a retreat, so we were supposed to kind of connect and network, but it was also hard for me because I was there with my toddler.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I was also parenting and trying to be with everyone, which was, at times it was a bit difficult, but yes, we managed. So
It sounds like a lovely trip.
this project is helping me develop my something I've always wanted to, but somehow never found time, my direction towards bioart, which I am really looking forward to during next year, to try to experiment more with mycelium and with just water, like looking at water from with microscope and all kinds of experiments. Yes.
So are you looking at those biological things as tools, as to represent art, or as themes?
Well, within the residency, we as artists are supposed to connect to scientists, and we also have some science classes. So last year we had the theme of soil, and we were doing a bit of pedology and geology classes. And this year we have the theme of water, and we are doing hydrology, and we'll see what else. And so science is actually like central. I'm
Mhm.
not sure what exactly I will do, but this is like my main current research.
Sure.
Maybe just looking at specific waters from the geopark, and starting from the streams and checking how they look under the microscope, and then going back to the most polluted areas and also checking that. And I'm not sure yet. Yes.
Marvelous. Well, what we're going to talk about today is talking about our art, and I think we're giving some really good foundation for that. Obviously, telling our story is an important part of the art, and being able to have conversations around that is key to connecting with your audience and whoever it is that you're presenting to. And I wanted to kind of ask Dale to talk a little bit about that, because Dale was a minister for your career, and
Yes.
and I know Deborah as a professor, a whole career of communicating, of talking, and talking to different people at different levels. Deborah would talk to her colleagues differently than she would talk to her students, and Dale would have had to have looked at a whole spectrum of people that he was dealing with. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that kind of process of talking about our art. And there's a quick kind of pre-assessment I wanted us to ask ourselves, and rate yourself from 1 to 5. Can I describe my artistic style clearly? Can I explain what motivates my work? Can I talk about my art to non-artists? And I understand how to tailor my message to different audiences, whether they be collectors or peers or curators, whomever. And the last one, I feel confident speaking about my art in public settings. If you consider those kinds of questions as we go through the next few slides in conversation that would help kind of place this. So the discussion question is, why is knowing your audience so important when talking about your art? What could go wrong? Dale, do you want to chime in? Do you want the slides? Do you not want the slides? I don't know how to cue this up for you.
Let's try and go without the slides for a minute. I'm not going to take
Sure,
all this.
absolutely.
In response to your invitation about telling stories, I saw that you had some discussion topics about who you're talking to and things of that sort. So I want to take a brief time to talk about different kinds of stories. And for today, I just clustered 5 of them. And of course, the 5th one that we'll get to, and it's particularly interesting, is the elevator story or elevator speech. So I want to talk about 4 others before we get there. 2 of the types of stories can be used to influence others. And 2 of the other 2 are more to inform others. So the 2 that I want to mention about influencing others. I have a defiant streak that I think I was born with. If somebody tells me to do something, I try to do something opposite. So I personally do not relate well to persuasive stories. I find that these 2 function as persuasive stories, but they can be persuasive, but they're more inviting. The first is the stories that speak about, we're talking about us presenting to others, right? So the stories that speak about transformation points in our life, and I call them impact stories. And they're usually very short, and they have 3 distinct parts. The first part is once, second part is but then, and the third part is so now. So it's before and after with something significant in the middle. Okay, so people ask me about my art and how I got involved with Alcohol Inc. And the transformational or impact story is, well, in 2019, I started drawing because I decided to be an artist. And then when I was thinking about color, I was invited to a class with alcohol where they were teaching about Alcohol Inc. And I was hooked. Okay. Once I was drawing, then I went to the class. Now I'm hooked. Okay. In July of last year, I hit the wall. So I decided to do 30 paintings in 30 days, hoping to have at least 10 failures because I learned from failing. And that gave me a new energy or a new daring. Do you see the pattern? Once I hit the wall, then I took the 30 days, and now I have a new daring. So those kinds of stories, when you tell a once but then so now story. It's talking about significant moments in your life that changed something. They don't have to be super special,
Sure.
okay? But that that kind of story shows movement, action, victory, change, and it's very personal. So it attracts people to what you're doing. Okay, so anything that you can say as a narrative or a historical piece, you can cast it as an impact story. I opened a studio. I moved someplace. Maya told us 3 or 4 things when, she said she moved to the country, or when she, those are very engaging. I was drawn into that.
Yeah.
So impact story talks about a transforming moment, and it doesn't have to be significant at all, but it will bond. People will be able to bond with it. The second type of influential story is a testimonial story, usually about others, about other stuff that influenced us. A testimonial story. I was in Houston and went to an art show, and I met this artist in Silver Street, and his path was similar to mine, and I was impressed and encouraged, and that really gave me a boost. That's a testimonial.
What an amazing person that must have been.
Yeah, someday I really. I just heard yesterday that there are people who are going to try to open an art gallery in our town. That's a testimonial story. That's going to, it's not the same as an impact story, but it's similar. I've tried acrylics and I've tried watercolor a little bit. I've also done some pencil, but I keep coming back to alcohol ink. I have these different places in my different boxes with supplies in it, and I always go to the alcohol ink supply box. That's a narrative story that that helps people understand who I am and what I am about my art. So impact story and testimonial story are ways to invite or influence people toward your enterprise. The other type is informative, and those two are narrative story and a good news story. A good news story, I don't have to explain, it's just, when I was here or there, good news, bad news stories, some victory, something to celebrate, but they're always celebrative stories about you or your friends or your town or so you have those. And then the narrative story, which is usually lengthy, when you start to ramble and talk about interests and occupation and stuff. My brother lives in China, but what's interesting is that I see him more than my other 4 siblings because he comes home at least once a year, and I can't go in 4 different places to see each of them once a year. Just kind of narrative things about events. We were in Sedona, Arizona, and we went to this internationally known art gallery, and the stuff in there was just totally amazing, really amazing. That's a narrative, and it doesn't it doesn't say anything about me except I appreciated it. So those are the four kind: the impact story, once but then, so now; a testimonial story, that what did I see or witness, what did I do or experience, but it often involves other people, other stuff, the narrative story, which is just factual, more or less, and informative, and reports on who, what, when, where, and why. It reveals your world and engages people in the world, just like you would have any conversation at a coffee shop or around the kitchen table if there was a friend there. And then the good news story, which that can be short, or it can be very exciting and energizing. So given those four as a background, just how to introduce yourself, how to get acquainted, how things to talk about. You can talk about your transformation moments. You can talk about testimonial moments. You can talk about anything about art or your life narrative, or you can talk about a good news story. The good news story example would be, we're getting an art gallery here in town, like that.
Right. Or Maya's going to Portugal, or yeah.
Yes. So do you have any, before I get to the elevator story, do you guys have any questions about that, or is that helpful? What do you think? What has that been helpful to you? If so, in what way?
Certainly to me. I mean, to me, the idea of telling stories is so central to us as people, and we have to be able to bring that to the art, because I have a little bitty, I was going to grab, let's see, where was that? It's right here. It's a less than 2 minutes. There's an art gallerist in Arizona, and this is what he says about storytelling, and then we can move on to the next bit. I don't know why I'm having trouble making this work.
The world absolutely needs you, and your vision of the world is so important. The only way you'll fail is if
it went on to the
you
next
stop, and don't let anybody tell you how to do it. You do it your own way. The world.
Isn't that funny? That is the.
Is that an ad?
That is the next video, and I don't know how to make it go back to the prior one. But anyway, I won't worry about it. But basically his message is that very often a story can make the difference between a sale and not a sale. That if someone shows interest in a piece of art, he's talking from the point of view of a gallery owner, that someone shows a bit of interest, or they ask a question about a piece of art, that a story can very often sell the art. And I think most of us have had that experience, just selling art in our studios and those kinds of experiences. So the story is so important. And it's interesting how you brought together how those stories can have different flavors.
I think if you practice them, they're not, I mean, they're not hard, and they're all stories, and you can easily mix them. I like to keep them separate.
Yes.
So, if I start with an impact story, I try and stay on that, and not wander into narrative about, other projects or other ideas. I try to keep them somewhat in the category where they are.
Have you seen experience? I will often go to gallery openings, and I will often go and I will see all these people in a room and we're celebrating the art of a particular person, and I don't know who that person is. And they never say a word. They don't speak to me. I have to try and figure out who the artist is and go up and talk to them. Very many people are so afraid to interact that it can kind of kill that moment that they could be building a rapport and telling those stories to me.
Mhm.
And I just think it's so important that we acknowledge that even if this is difficult, there are ways to approach this, and it is key to the success. It's part of what we do. I mean, we create things, but if we can't talk about them, it's pointless. It's like music is made to be heard, and art is made to be seen, but to sell art, you're gonna have to tell a story.
There was I was at an art show. The Des Moines Women's Club has a week-long art show. You can only enter one piece, and there were about 160 pieces. And on the artists' night, get to know the artists. I was talking to many other artists, but this one artist said, I want to introduce you to my husband. And I visited with him some, and I mentioned to him that my brother lived in China. I don't know how that came up, but he had said something about his background and who he was. And so then we started talking about China and then about what my brother was doing over there. And as I was leaving, the artist herself, whose husband I was talking to, came over and said, "You have helped me so much. My husband never comes because he can't find anybody to talk to about things that interest him." So it isn't always just staying on the art topic, but it's, listening if there's another way to connect.
Yeah. And the importance of knowing the difference on how to talk to a different audience. I mean, if you come in, someone comes into my studio and says, "What kind of art do you do?" And I start talking about using encaustic techniques in acrylics with found ephemera, they're going to walk out not having any idea what I'm talking about. That might be very appropriate if I'm talking to another artist or in an academic setting, but you need to be able to talk to different audiences appropriately. I have been to so many presentations where people are talking way up here using jargon and kind of academic speak, art speak, that is completely meaningless to most of the people listening. That doesn't mean that they're not right. That doesn't mean that they're not very erudite and educated, and they shouldn't be ashamed of that in any way. But they're not connecting with any of the people that are listening to them in a group of people off the street.
And I'm not proficient enough. I never went to art school or took art classes. I just like to paint, and so I really can't engage in those kind of topics, which I think to some extent gives me an advantage sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, yeah. Let's talk about elevator speech.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deborah.
You know what that is? I wonder.
What?
Elevator speech.
Yeah.
Is it a U.S. term or is that an international term?
Let me see if
I think it's,
at various moments in your life, chance meetings will occur that could at various moments.
Oh, stop it, lady. Okay. I want to make this, this is really, really brief. It's like a TikTok thing, but it might answer the question Deborah brought up. Let's see if I go back to present. Maybe that's why it didn't play before.
In your life, chance meetings will occur that could lead to something big, like a new client, a new job, or a new business partner. But the question is, are you ready? You can't afford to freeze up and then think about all the things you wish you had said when the moment has passed. The good news is there's a really simple way for you to be ready for these chance meetings every single time. What you need is an elevator pitch, a 30-second introduction to who you are and what you do. Include a bit about your background or your story, and finish with your goals or your aspirations. Practice and polish your pitch so that the words naturally roll off the tongue and you maximize your chances of that impromptu meeting ending with a smile, a handshake, and a brilliant new contact.
Okay. So in my estimation, and I've done a lot of elevator stories because I've been in a lot of, you know, kind of retail situations where you're, you know, introducing yourself. The elevator story is your verbal business card.
Mhm.
Okay, so it doesn't have any more information in it than what you could get on a business card. It always only tells who you are and what you do. So, hi, I'm Dale O'Connell. I'm an Alcohol Inc. artist. Alcohol Inc. is my retirement adventure, and I love to share it. I hope that there'll be an opportunity where we can sit down and talk more about it, or you can see some of my work.
Yep. We've certainly, I know when Bogdan and I have been to book fairs and things like that, there have been times that somebody will just stop and say, what publisher you're with? And we'll say, we're not with a publisher, we're writers. And they would say, oh, great, what do you write? And I was like, I don't even know who this person is, but they could change my life if it's the right person. And you know, are you able to jump in with a prepared enough speech to get all the things you want said without being boring, without going too long, and like Dale said, to be, here's my business card, and to end with some sort of opening that says, can we talk further, or, you know, or turn it back on them? So what do you do so that you're building a conversation that can last longer than the 30 seconds, 45 seconds that
right. And if there's like 3 or 4 or 5 ingredients in this little speech that you're making, the last one is the ask, what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And that's the only piece that ever changes. So I'm I'm Dale O'Connell, an Alcohol Inc. artist. I'm here to introduce myself. Alcohol Inc. is my retirement adventure, and I'd like to, and then that can change.
Excellent.
You know, I'd like to visit with you. I'm hoping to meet other artists. I just love to chat at art and or, you know, Alcohol Inc. is my retirement adventure, and I really like it because, like, all I have to do is make a mess and then fix it, and you
Marvelous.
know, you know, so that last piece is pretty much interchangeable, and you can relate it to your audience or whatever mood you're in.
Marvelous. I'm just looking at the time, Dale. So let me ramp it up a little. No, thank you so much for sharing. Our homework is to build an elevator speech. And I've included this slide, and I'll send the slides out. So next time when we get together, we'll share our elevator speeches. They're only 30 seconds, but that gives an idea of kind of the structure, if that's helpful for you. So when we're looking at building this PR plan, we talked about our situational, you know, what our business is, what our art is like, what our goals are, and what our key messages are. The next thing we need to do is target media and influencers. We need to start to look at who are we going to share all of this information that we're gathered with, and how does that look? And that could be in different categories. That could be traditional media, online media, social media folks, and influencer kinds of folks, and industry contacts. So gallery owners, art fair people, curators, things like that. Or maybe, you know, store owners, if you're going to do kind of collaborative things. And so what we need to do there, the other part of our homework is I want you to go and I want you to find 5 contacts in each of the following areas. 5 in the traditional media, 5 online media, 5 social media influencers, and 5 industry contacts. So you're going to end up with 20 people, and they don't have to, you know, they don't have to be the best choices ever, but I just want to be able to say, do we know how to do this so that we can go to the next step in building our plan? So it might look something like this. I've got a spreadsheet here. To me, it was important what language they spoke. So if it's in Spanish, maybe I need to write them in Spanish. What is the format? I've got people in magazines, newspapers, blog, radio, television, and I don't have the ones there, the gallery owners and things like that. I have a name. If you can get a name, that makes a huge difference. What their job is. I need an email. Anything I can get about them, but I need a job so I know what they do, who they're with, and if I can get a name and an email, then I can actually make a contact. So if that's our homework for next time, is to write an elevator speech and prepare 20 names in those different categories. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions?
I want to thank Dale for not especially for his informative speech, but for me it's always a lesson because I'm very harsh on myself, and I also have a huge actually fear of publicly speaking.
So many people do.
It's like I was in many situations where I was supposed to speak publicly, so I'm getting better at it, but I still have it enormously. And it's really amazing to see how relaxed and detached one can be towards his or her work, and that's beautiful. And yes, thank you. That is also a lesson that
So
I appreciated.
Thank
was-
you.
it
And
was
you're
great.
thank you,
One
and
way-
you're welcome.
one way to practice this, because it's very hard to stay home and practice by yourself all these speeches, it's to force yourself to weird things. So John and I, after COVID and during COVID, had a live streaming on Facebook for many weeks, months.
Mm.
And we would pick up 4 pieces of art, 2 of each, and every week we show up live and talk about them. It was a fantastic exercise to force yourself, because you are live, you can't screw it up. I mean, even if you do, he was with me there saving me and vice versa. But it's very good to put yourself in a position to push yourself of talking about your art, of talking about your series or what you're working on, so that when time comes to be in a real setting, you know how to talk about all these things. And I think that's amazing. So partner, if Maya, partner with somebody else, and you guys can do a live show every week and talk about a piece
Do
of
we
art.
still have 1 minute to tell you a
Yes,
story?
indeed. As
Yeah.
long as everybody
So
is okay with that.
my last public speech was in September at the mall. We had a huge exhibition, 13 artists, and we were making a tour. Each artist was supposed to talk about his art. There were many people, and I was there with my 4 kids. And there's like this huge line of people going towards obviously my big installation. And there's me, but there's like one child missing. And I'm
Oh
like,
my.
what the heck is going on? What do I do? Do I start trying to find the kid? Do I go and, hold a speech? And there I am, turning around, 3 kids around me, going crazy. So I finally decide, okay, I'm going to hold a speech. Maybe the kid is just going to the toilets by himself. She's big, but it's still at the mall. And I start, and how do I start? Asking everybody if they've seen my kid. And you know what? Actually, I think that was the best speech in my life. I talked for 4 or 5 minutes, and I was so open and I was so alive. And I think that turned out actually to be the best speech. And when I finished, I went, and she was actually with some friends, and it was okay. But just this situation made me so natural that I could actually talk very clearly and concise. And that's, life situations.
Yeah, I mean,
There's actually
and
a
you can use this example at your next speech at the mall or whatever. That, oh, I hope I'm not going to lose a kid this time, because last time I
Yeah.
lost a kid as we were talking. And then once you have a joke like that and you make people smile, then it's a completely different feeling to talk more about your story.
You're right. You're right. I can use the joke.
on the screen here, these are some of the people who have had problems being afraid and feeling like an imposter. So, you're in good company.
Okay.
And Dale, thank you. That was great information you provided.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Marvelous. I will send out the slides. I thank you guys. Just scanning to see if there's anything else we needed to say. In review, we must all be able to speak about our art in a variety of ways. The fear of public speaking is very real, and imposter syndrome is often an issue we have to deal with. Speaking appropriately to the right audience is very important. We should have our elevator speech ready at all times. And we must build a network of contacts in the media and with influencers of all kinds. I can't even spell. So that's what we were talking about today. I thank you guys. We will
Thank
be
you.
back next
Thank
week.
you.
Where will I be next week? Well, I'll be back in Texas next week.
Yes,
Oh,
you will be in
already.
Texas.
We will arrive just a day before. So Deborah's keeping my cat, so I'll be able to reconnect with Deborah and my kitty cat, and looking forward to the trip.
And in the United States, the time changes this weekend. So
So it'll be normal again then. I didn't know quite when it happened in the States. It surprised me when Romania changed this last week.
It'll be normal.
We'll be back to the
Yeah.
12 o'clock Texas time. I don't know what time it starts for you, Dale, but
noon.
noon as well.
Well, I
Great.
also hope to meet you during the weekend if you have
That
time.
would be delightful. Absolutely.
Super. So
And
looking
I
forward to
didn't
that.
want to impose because I know how busy it is before you get to a show. So
I'm leaving tomorrow morning to install everything. So
excellent.
early morning. So thank
We'll
you.
meet up.
See you.
Absolutely. Safe journey.
You too. Bye bye.
Have
Bye,
a great
guys.
evening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.